This is Greg Canty here, and welcome to the Win Happy podcast. Stay tuned for interesting chats with interesting people about winning their lives and being happy at the same time. This show has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. Thanks for listening. In part 2 of this 2-part podcast, Johnny Quaid chats about getting on with his life part 2. As a young, wheelchair-bound man, he dug deep, went back to school, he joined the Global Volunteers in Greece for a month, and he found work. He chats about the difficulties that people with disabilities face, the attitude of people towards him, and his wheelchair basketball career that satisfied his competitive spirit. The most difficult thing is being okay with being different, he says. Johnny can't believe how much he's achieved and how lucky he is. Johnny Quaid is an incredible person. Let's hear from Johnny. In a work context, what has your experience been like?
Yeah, I suppose it would have been difficult. It would have been difficult in a couple of work locations. All right. Again, I don't know, was I lucky or unlucky, or was it the places I just seemed to gravitate towards? But I always got accepted to whatever I applied for. But once I was in the door, they had absolutely no idea what to do. And I was always told that, geez, you're the first person in a wheelchair now that has come in here.
Yeah. For
some reason, nobody in a wheelchair has ever applied to work here. And then that got me thinking, geez, am I daft altogether then? Because am I going down the road that isn't suited to me at all? But it was always suited. It was office-based. It was people-orientated. You know, you don't have to be walking around to be able to connect with people and all that kind of stuff. Outside of the accessibility, I think the number one thing is the people. Yeah, are people able for a person with a disability in their workplace, and does it throw the vibe of how we all get on together?
Yeah, and tell me aspects of your life then. Holidays, socializing. You're obviously a big GA fan, so you've obviously got a lot of energy and sport inside you, and you know the ballroom of romance and getting all that part of your life going. How has all that been?
So I suppose people ask me what were the first things that came into your head when you woke up, and the first two things really that came into my head when I properly could process things was two things. Well, that's football gone. That's playing football gone. And that's a girlfriend out the window. That's not happening no more. There's no more girlfriends here. So those were the two things. And that came from a 17-year-old's brain. I can't play football anymore. I can't get a girlfriend.
And when you think about it, it's very simplistic thinking, but it's fairly on the button, isn't it? That's what I would imagine that your conclusion would be. Yeah. So there's been no problem with the relationship aspect of things anyway. I suppose I've had one or two blips along the way, like any of us would have had. But with the likes of socializing, did my fair share of it. Did too much of it, if I'm being honest with it. So I suppose it was 6 years into the accident, around 2012. I don't know what came over me. I just got bored of where I was in Ate with absolutely everything. And I said, I need to expand the horizons here a small bit. So I got on the internet. I booked their organization. I think they're American, actually, Global Volunteers, and they do summer camps. And I looked it up, and they were holding a 2-week summer camp in Greece for teaching conversation English to a primary school over in Greece. So I said, okay, number one,
I think I can talk English, so I think I that box ticked. I'll be able to do it. Now I just need to get over will I be able to get over there? Quickly, from talking to people over and back in Global Volunteers, couldn't see an issue. Why not? And I had decided from the very start, I'm doing it on my own. I'm going on my own. I'm not doing it at all. So, booked my tickets, booked 2 summer camps, so for 4 weeks, and accommodation and everything where the volunteers were staying, and just broke it to my mother. And she said, "And who's going with you?" I said, "There's no one going with me. I'm on my own." She said, "Johnny, you can't do that. You can't do that."
Don't be stupid.
I said, "I can't do that, and I'm doing it. Whether it's a disaster or it's the best thing I would have ever done, I'm going to do it." So, funny story, my brother, because my mother couldn't bear it, my brother and his wife dropped me to Dublin Airport and took me as far as the gates. And my brother, big man, 6'4", about 20 stone, had a tear in his eye at the security gates. I said, PJ is his name. I said, PJ, I'll be back in a month. I'm not going to Australia. I'll be back. You're collecting me here in a month's time. But I landed off, and I landed in Greece and got off the airplane, went through the airport, got my bags, and went out to the taxi rank. It must have been 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning. And I said, once I hit the air and I felt the heat, I said, oh, Jesus Christ, what am I after doing here? Because a pile of taxi drivers, the Greek men, they're all standing around in huddles at each other's cars, they smoking cigarettes, and they looking at me. And they were looking at me and kind of looking behind me like his partner, his PAs on the way as well. And I was eyeballing them, and they were eyeballing me, and eventually they got the message that, no, he's actually here on his own. I just had a piece of paper with the name of the hotel, and I said, I need to go here. And it was all arranged from the hotel side. I'm arriving in at 2:30. I'll be at the hotel for 3:15. So somebody would be up to welcome me, show me to my room. All that was in order. Landed at the hotel, darkness. I said to the taxi driver, are you sure it's here? He said, it's here. This is the name of the hotel. This is the only one in the area. I said, I don't think it's here. And he said, it's here. So he got out and he started shouting up to a balcony. And about 20, I was in the car at this stage. My chair was still in the boot. I was in the car kind of trying to stretch down, looking out this window going, geez, somebody come out this balcony, geez. So eventually somebody came out. They were kind of arguing back and forth. And eventually he got my chair out, pulled it up to the side and said, this is you. So I went in. This fella showed me to my room, tiny bedroom. I was told the bathroom would be wheelchair access, but I'm here for a month, so I need the bathroom wheelchair access. Opened the toilet, opened the bathroom door. Toilet was right in front of me. Put the shower over to the right, but I couldn't fit in between the toilet door.
Oh my God.
I said, oh man, I'm here for a month. I have to be able to use this place. I have to be able to use it. So what I did, 4 o'clock that morning, tried to come up with some sort of a plan that
work for Johnny.
Use this place for next month. I'd be too proud to be able to ring mom or ring dad back home and say, you're kind of right. So I jumped off the chair at the bathroom door, jumped onto the toilet, took the chair apart, brought it back over me to the shower, put it together, jumped off the toilet, back onto the chair to go into the shower. And I did that over and back for a month. That was the best. I suppose I was in my prime of adaptation at that.
Oh my God almighty. And tell me, Official Ireland and our ability to be good and give everyone every opportunity. What that looks like, you're working for the HSE, Active Disability Ireland, and the work that they do, trying to make sure that people have that opportunity to be as active as anyone else. The Irish Wheelchair Association. You've been up close and personal with all of these organisations, I'm sure, as a 17-year-old you knew nothing about, but you've fairly well discovered it since. How is Ireland? How would you describe it? Are we getting better? Do you have any ideas, or, as a comparison to other countries? Are we in good shape? Are we in bad shape? How has it been?
Getting a lot better. Even back to 2006, it's a different Ireland accessibility-wise than it is now. There was very little places I could go without actually being refused to go into buildings or a pub or a nightclub.
To be refused?
I've been refused entry into nightclubs because of it would be an insurance risk.
Oh, gosh.
If a fire broke out, how would I get down and all this kind of stuff? I could see where they were coming from, in fairness.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely has got a lot better. Now I was in Lourdes back in 2008, hoping to get the cure, but never happened. And we were in Biarritz. We went to Biarritz for a day trip, and I think it was Biarritz. Yeah, I think it was Biarritz. And the accessibility was absolutely shocking. There wasn't a single building that I could go into. And saying that as well, Lourdes wasn't in great shape either for was. And there was more wheelchairs that week in Lourdes than I've seen in my life. So Ireland is not in bad shape. But again, I'm only saying that from a personal point of view because, look, I'm very independent and very active. I know there's people who shares that their disability would be a lot more severe. So I can get places and go places where it would be hard and tricky for other people. So
yeah,
I wouldn't like to put it out there that I find it great. So it is great. It's just coming from a person.
Okay, yeah, because you're still quite strong and everything else, aren't you? Yeah. And you were involved in sport, aren't you, still?
Yes, in wheelchair basketball. I didn't get into that from 2006 on. I was always a big pool player because we had the pool table in the pub I worked in, and so we always played pool. So I got in touch with a guy, another wheelchair user. He actually had his accident probably feet away from my house in Ate, and I was only 3 months old when he had his accident. So I got in touch with him, and he was a big-time pool player, wheelchair pool player. And he represented Ireland. He was over and back to England for years. And he got in touch with me, and he kind of showed me the ropes of playing pool in a wheelchair, and eventually got into competitions. And I went to the World Championships with him representing Ireland as well. So great experience, but Jesus, I need that. I need that competitive kind of, you grind the teeth and bite down the mouth kind of a thing. Food didn't have that.
Yeah.
So I quickly as I got older and I got more mature and I got braver, I said, this pool thing is not. You think an awful lot in pool. And Jesus, when I think myself into the ground, and after a game of pool, I'm rethinking my life. I should have gone down. So I said, you know what, this isn't good for my head right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, got in touch with Limerick City when I was living in that in Limerick City at the basketball club, and travelling up and down to those for 2-3 nights a week training. Did that for a couple of years, and then I moved to Tralee in County Kerry and put the word out there for would there be numbers for a senior team in wheelchair basketball. So we did, and we got the numbers, and we set it up, and we're in the National League for the last number of years now. So yeah, that physical side of it is what I need.
Yeah, and it's a very dirty sport, I believe, is it?
Can be a very dirty sport.
You thought the GA was bad.
There's a couple of lads there now up in leash and things, and I've seen them doing a couple of dirty tricks, and I said, "My God, if Alexa Greg Canty was on the sideline and saw this fella in a wheelchair doing this trick, his respect for somebody in a wheelchair would quickly go down."
He must have been from Newcastle West or something. that other land where they're all very strange. What's been the most difficult thing, Johnny?
Oh, I suppose it is being okay being different,
Okay.
if that makes sense. It's okay to be different.
Yeah.
I suppose with firstly, you have to accept it and come around to it. But then I suppose phase two, you have to spread that around to the likes of your wider community, family, friends, potential employers. I suppose you have to prove a lot more. You have to prove a lot more that because it's a physical disability, people are seeing the disability, they're seeing the wheelchair, they're seeing you getting your chair in and out of the car. You know, they're seeing all of that kind of stuff, and I suppose you just have to prove that I'm me. I want to be involved in this community. I want to be involved in this friends group. You know, I don't want to be a hindrance, whether that's in a relationship, a social group, an employment. You know, it's yeah, that would have been a big kind of cloud hanging over my head for a while. Don't be that disabled person. That kind of thing.
That must be incredibly difficult.
It is. It is difficult. But it was keep with it, stay with it, keep driving it home. You know yourself and you know the personality. It'll get through.
Yeah.
But you have to keep driving.
And Johnny, you know, when you see a job ad and we trot out these words, you want someone who's dynamic, someone who's innovative, someone who's driven, and we're looking for all of these ideal characteristics in people who might join your team and work for you. And for the most part, they're people who've lived ordinary lives. You know, God knows where they've been raised and whatever else that goes with that. You know, they'll have gone to their school and their secondary school and their third level and got good degrees or qualifications and all that kind of thing. It's all from a very limited experience. And I'm just thinking, if I've got Johnny Quaid coming through the door, wow. When you want courage and drive and will and a problem solver and determination and tenacity, you could write 1,000 books compared to my one book. Do you know what I mean? You have that in spades. So when I put that to you, when we talk about difficulty, you've got this bank of, and you'll probably hate me using the word, but it goes like courage and determination and that ability to problem solve. The value of that, Johnny, holy shit. What you have in your bank is just incredible. And it's been through circumstance, I know that, and your own attitude and everything else that you bring to it. But most ordinary folk And I'm categorizing, I suppose, by even saying that. They couldn't touch it. They couldn't get close to you. So what you are, and I know you don't want to pat in the back or say I'm great or anything, but the reality is, there's one reality, and you say, well, I'm different, and well, the other reality is, yeah, you bloody well are, and no one can touch that part of you because of what's happened. So what have you learned?
What have I learned? Again, kind of reiterating what you said, they're the determination that's in me, the want for life is in me in all aspects. The passion to, because I know this can all be taken in a split second. So I want to live life to its absolute fullest. I have determination. I feel like now that in the likes of a relationship context, I'm valued. I'm a valued partner here. In an employment aspect, I'm a valued employee, standing or sitting. Before I wouldn't have had that. Before I would have always had that. You're a number, and I know that everybody's replaceable. I don't feel that about myself. I don't feel that I'm replaceable here, because if it coming from an employment side of things, if I'm replaced, I think there's a loss. There's a loss there if I'm removed, and and honestly, it probably took me a few years to be okay with hearing that. If you said this to me 11 years ago, I would have shut it down.
Yeah.
No, I can't be hearing those things back from somebody saying those things about me. No, I'm not comfortable with that. I'm not comfortable with hearing those things.
But do you know that now?
I know it now. I know
Yeah.
that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But again, now, Greg, I need to, personally myself, I know it, but I can't let that get out of control either.
Yeah. No, I totally. Yeah. Do you have a role for the Johnny Quaid today who is staring at rehab and staring at a life that had a part one and a part two? Do you have a role for some of those characters, or is that a world that you want to stay a million miles away from?
Um, I don't know. Let's be honest.
Okay.
I don't. And you know what? I'm delighted that I'm after saying that now, because it shows that I'm still on the up, and I'm still actually exploring little parts of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who were the rock stars along the way from your point of view, besides yourself?
The rock stars along the way would have been, I suppose, in the likes of hospital, it would have been the nurse of the ward, the head nurse. It was Miss Casey. Never found out her first name. She was Miss Casey. She was about 70 years of age. She had a beehive hairstyle, like Marge Simpson. She had big black on top of her head, and everybody feared her.
Oh, gee.
Everybody feared her. The porters on the ward and everything. The minute they heard her heels or she snapped their fingers, they were in line. So, and when visitors were first allowed into the NRH to see me, of course there was all the lads from AT on a Sunday piling in, and she'd be there at the entrance of the ward, so all the lads have to pass her station. They're looking in. They're looking up and down. She said, "Oh yeah, there must be a free train from Limerick coming up this weekend." So just the respect, I had respect straight away from Miss Casey. But again, I was maybe got a bit complacent in myself when a few weeks into the NRH, the porters used to come around every morning, 7, half 7, and they go around to each bed and they'd help you get dressed. They come in and they'd be turning you to your side and they'd be pulling up your pants, they'd be putting on your socks, they'd be throw your arms up in the air and they'd throw down your t-shirt or hoodie. And they were doing this for a few weeks. And I was always kind of, as I was turning on the bed and as I was putting arms up in the air, I said to myself, I could probably do this myself. Look, this is the way it's done here. They do this, they dress you, so don't rock the boat. This is what they do. This is their job. And eventually, Miss Casey was around one morning and she stuck her head in around the corner and said, "What are you doing?" And I don't know what they said back there. They said, "That young fella he can dress himself here." And she shooed him out. And she stood at the bottom of the bed and she folded her arms and said, "Pull up that pants." And I said, "Well, like the lads usually do," she said, "Pull up that pants. Get up in that bed and put your t-shirt on, put your shoes on and transfer out of the bed and get in your chair, go down to your physiotherapy appointment for 5 minutes."
Wow.
And that was kind of a yes man kind of a thing. And it was right. So straight away, Miss Casey.
Yeah, fair play.
But yeah, my parents as well. They were, they were up and down the road to Dublin every day of the week. We were building down in our own house because to get ready for me, they were building a kind of an apartment onto the back of the home house. So they were up and down to Dublin. They were meeting builders, all this kind of stuff, and never once complained. And it was, looking back at it, I must have been a little shit feeling for my parents to deal with. Thinking I was fine at the time, but I must have been, how they didn't give out to me, how they didn't whip me into shape at some point or slip around the ear or say, "Hi, cop on." I never know how they didn't do that. So my parents, the likes of Nurse Casey, all of the nurses really, and that man I mentioned about playing pool, Kevin Flynn, he got me out. That was only 2006. Kevin Flynn I met in late 2008. No, late 2007, early 2008. I met Kevin, and straight away he brought me into the world of pool and going away for weekends to competitions and traveling over to England in the World Championships with a couple of thousand people, and that was mind blowing. And I looked up to Kevin, saying, "This is where I want to be as I'm moving through this journey. I'm a newbie here. I'm only a year in the chair. This guy is where I am now, 17, 18 years into his journey. He knows himself. He knows everything that I thought he knows everything. I want to be there. He's everything sorted out." So Kevin Flynn, he would have been a big role model to look up to through the whole thing.
He was a big stepping stone, wasn't he?
I still have a great relationship. Yeah.
Okay, and you never mentioned some of your basketball opponents. You never mentioned some of your basketball opponents, some of the rock stars. Their day will come, huh? So listen, you're on the Win Happy podcast. What's happiness to you?
What's happiness to me? So where I am now, I've never been happier. I've never been more content with who I am and life right now. We've just moved into a house with the last 3.5 months. We've renovated the house here in Tralee, and with my partner Grace for the last going on 3 years now. And I don't want to tie work with likes of having a job and all that, but it's a lot deeper to me. I have a purpose. Those kind of things. So with happiness to me, I'm healthy. My loved ones are healthy. We want for nothing. We have a roof over our head. It's those basic, simple things. Because 17 years ago, I'm sure it was my parents' dream, and they probably cried at night thinking he's not going to be able to do what he has now. He's driving a car. He has a beautiful girlfriend. He's a roof over his head. He's happy. So, I suppose this is what happiness is.
And I talk then to people about winning happy. And it's a bit like the basketball. And if you enjoy basketball, but there were no hoops, it would become very pointless all of a sudden. And that satisfaction of landing the ball in the back of the net or through the hoop or whatever, with you and winning going forward, have you some goals? What does winning look like for you?
It might sound very silly, but winning with me is to be able to wake up in the morning and sit up in bed, get out into the chair and go for a shower, get dressed and do a day's work, and come home and have a reason to sit on the couch and yawn and say, I'm absolutely wrecked.
Yeah.
That's winning.
Yeah, it sure is. It sure is.
To me, that's winning. And with goals going forward, obviously, I would like to climb the ranks within the HSE.
Yeah.
And get more involved with the disability services within the HSE. Again, I'd love to be able to get into schools and have a chat with young people, and because if the likes of Active Disability Ireland were around in 2006, that would be huge if somebody came in to a school, and especially somebody with a physical disability or in a wheelchair came into my classroom, had a chat with us. That would have left a massive mark on me. And I think with the way the younger generation, with the way things are going now, with the likes of anxiety and depression, it's like people would say, what would you say to young people if you went into a classroom? I wouldn't say a word to them. I'd listen to them, because I think that might be a small part of the problem as well. Are they being listened to? It's a person that came in from a disability that was walking around like you, playing football like you, meeting up with their friends like you, and this happened to him. I heard a great quote there recently. It's anxiety overestimates the threat and underestimates your ability to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I just sat with that since I've heard it.
Will you say it again to me?
Anxiety overestimates the threat.
Yeah.
And underestimates your ability to deal with it. Again, personally, I think that just hits the nail on the head.
Yeah. What you were saying there about kids and their ability to soak things up.
Mm-hmm.
And with that natural curiosity that we were chatting about, when that question, you can imagine the questions kids would ask you, wouldn't you? With no guardrails at all. You could write them. I'd say you couldn't even guess half them if you tried.
And you know what, Greg? I've got him, and I get him to this day, because if I'm in a supermarket and I'm going up and down the aisles, and I turn a corner and I go down an aisle, and I see a parent coming up against me, and they're either walking with a toddler or toddlers in the trolley, you can just see their face going, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" They just know. They know.
Yeah.
The young boy or girl, they're going to be swinging off me, and I'm going to try and have to take them off it, or they're going to say, "Why is that fella on wheels? What's wrong with him? What's wrong with that fella?" And you see the parents, they just want the floor to open. And
yeah.
I always give the smile as I'm approaching.
Well, you've seen it a million times, and at one level it's fairly comical as to what they're going to come out with, and you can see the cogs going in their head, you know. I've one last question for you, if that's okay. And it's a whopper. What was your best day ever?
Being handed the cert for passing my full driver license.
Wow.
And because I was driving for a month or so and I had my accident. So then I had, when I was home from the hospital, I had a few sessions with Irish Wheelchair Association with hand controls automatic car. And eventually my instructor said, "Mir, you're ready for this test." So back then, it's not like it was now. Back then, it was apply and get a date and just do it. And so I did that, and I wasn't in school that day, but I remember leaving home, or the night before. My mother laid out my uniform, shorts, pants, jumper, tie. I said, "What are you doing with them?" She said, "You're wearing your school uniform to this test." I said, "Why?" That driving instructor is seeing a young fella in a wheelchair, and he's in school as well. He needs this car. You need to pass this young fella. So I went there in my school uniform, and passed it. And the joy of ripping those end plates off, but it was the best day ever because it was like, you have passed the first hurdle here, and if you can pass this, if you can get to this point, get over this point, you can do anything.
So, Johnny, to you, the singer, the DJ, the actor, the rock star, thanks a million for coming onto the podcast. You're amazing. And I'm not throwing bouquets at you, but, you know, just honest to goodness, just considering the value that you can bring because of that deep bank of experience. And I guess we have to give a big shout out to Mrs. Casey, Kevin Flynn, your parents, PJ.
Grace, their partner.
Yeah, and Grace, God Almighty, fair play. And but thank you. I'm looking forward to meeting you. My other half is from Tralee. We're down a bit visiting her aunt, who lives out the road a little bit, and we'll catch up. I'll go for a bite to eat with you and Grace. That'd be fantastic, and drag Paul along.
That'd be brilliant. Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen, dude, thank you so much. I love the conversation. Thank you.
Thanks a million for the opportunity.
Yeah, good man yourself. Cheers. Take it easy. Thank you for listening to the Win Happy podcast, which has been brought to you by Fusion Communications. If you'd like to get in touch, feel free to send me an email at greg@fusion.ie. So until next time, take it easy.